Mary Backstage, Noble Wife, the story of America's favorite family of the footlights and their fight for security and happiness against the concrete heart of Broadway. It's moments after yesterday's episode now in the taxicab cruising the streets of Meredith, New Hampshire, with Mary backstage at the wheel. Believing she suffers from amnesia, Harry, Calvin, and Pop are trying to bring back part of her memory.
You know, I think you really are Mary backstage. Of course, there's no way of proving it. Do you happen to have your driver's license with you now?
Yes, you'd have to have a license to drive a cab, wouldn't you?
Oh, I have my license, but I'm not going to show it to every Tom, Dick, and Harry that asks me to produce it. No way.
Mary, this is ridiculous.
Who do you think I am, anyway?
I know who you are. You're my wife, Mary Backstage. I'm Harry. This is Calvin. That's
I'm
Pop.
not married. Who is this Mary Backstage you think I am?
Well, she's a famous Broadway actress, just as I'm a famous Broadway star, beloved idol of a million other women.
Isn't that funny? You know, I've often wondered what it would be like to be a Broadway star, but I'm so, self-conscious I could never go on the stage.
Wait, I got an idea, Harry. Ma'am?
Yes?
How long have you been driving a cab?
Oh, I don't know. It seems like forever, and then sometimes it seems just a few days. It's one of those hazy things.
Yeah,
she's... Funny about my memory lately, it's so hazy.
Have you fallen down lately or run into anything?
Beg your pardon?
I'd say, have you been hit on the head that you can remember?
No, not that I can remember. Why? Do I act odd to you?
Well, you certainly do, not remembering who you are when we know perfectly well that you are married.
Well, maybe she is Mary Backstage,
Well, it's not possible to be two people that look as much like her and sound as much like her.
But the clothes certainly are different. You got to admit that.
Yes, I will admit that.
Those aren't the clothes she was wearing when she disappeared from the theater. Well, I don't know what to say.
Maybe if you drove us back to the cab company. Is the owner there? Is the owner of the cab company there, driver? Mary?
Yes, he's there. Sure, there's only the two cabs, and I'm about ready to knock off for the day anyway.
Maybe if we spoke to him, he could clear this mystery up.
Well, want to go back there?
I think we should, don't you, Calvin? Pop?
Sure, I'm all for anything. Sure.
Yeah, we might be able to straighten it out. How far is it to the cab?
Well, that's it. It's not here at Meredith. It's closer down towards Nashua. This is quite a ride. This will cost you $1 to play.
Well, that's all right. Money is no object. We've got to straighten this problem out.
Well, then sit back and relax. We have a little spin yet.
Right.
I think. What do you mean, you think?
Yes, what do you mean?
Slow down, ma'am. This really is beginning to frighten me now.
Yes, it is me, too.
Who did you say I was supposed to be?
Mary Backstage. I'm Harry, and that's
I'm trying to think if there's anything in my past. But no, as far as I can remember, I was always here in Meredith driving this taxi.
Then you grew up here, did you? Do you remember your school days here?
No, I don't remember any of that. All I remember is driving this taxi. But I've been doing it, it seems like, forever.
Watch out for that cow up ahead. And so our friends apparently have become involved in an accident. Will this help bring Mary's memory back? Be sure and join us on Monday when we'll hear Calvin say,
"Who did you think I was?"
That's Monday in the next exciting episode of Mary Backstage, Noble Wife. Word Carr speaking.
Now, have you chosen a number for this week, Bob?
Yes, sir, Ray, I have. It's in Los Angeles, oddly enough. The number is Winter Smudge 58820, and I'll have the operator put the call through right away.
Long distance.
Operator, I want to make a call to Los Angeles, please. The number is Winter Smudge 58820.
Oh, my goodness sakes alive. I bet you're calling some big movie star out there, and this is an unlisted number and all that sort of thing.
No, I don't know who I'm calling, but I'm pretty sure it's not an unlisted number because I just found it in the Los Angeles phone book.
Well, of course, simply having it listed in the phone book doesn't mean that it's still couldn't be enlisted in a lot of other places.
Well, that may be true,
Yeah.
but let's not waste time thinking about it. If you just put the call through, then we'll be ready. I guess she's doing that now. Yep, I can hear the lucky phone ringing now out there. It's going to be a real surprise for somebody. 2 rings. We allow 3. Or 4, maybe, sometimes. No?
Hello? Norman the Magnificent here. Mind reading done while you wait. Open every week till 9. Can you be helped?
Well, it's kind of a surprise. I don't believe we've ever put through a call to a professional mind reader before. My
Wait a
name...
minute. Hold it right there. You don't have to tell me what your name is. I finished extrasensory percepting this whole call about 5 minutes before the phone rang.
You mean you actually read my mind and you knew what I was going to do before I did it?
Certainly. You're Walter L. Cosgrove of Anaheim, and you want my advice on whether you should leave your wife and run off to South America with your boss's secretary.
No, that's not who I am, and that's not where I'm from. And my boss's secretary is the type who's going to have to get to South America by herself if she expects to make it at all.
Well, are you some kind of a wise guy who's deliberately putting his mind on some other wavelength just to louse me up?
No. I say you're doing a pretty thorough job of lousing yourself up without any help from me. No, I called to offer you a whole flock of prizes if you can give me the answer to a simple question. See, this is the Bob and Ray Mystery Quiz Call in New York.
Oh, well, that explains it then. You're in a different time zone than I am. I've been reading the thoughts you won't get around to thinking for another 3 hours yet.
Well, I just soon not know what those are going to be. Are you ready to have me ask you the quiz question?
You don't need to ask me. Now that I know you're thinking it on Eastern time, I've already got it.
Well, I don't know exactly how to handle this kind of a situation. According to our rules, I have to allow you 1 minute to answer the question. And I'm not sure when to start timing.
No problem. I don't need a minute anyway. The answer is Zachary Taylor.
No, I'm sorry, sir. The answer is Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Well, that's ridiculous. How could the only general in the Mexican War to go on to the presidency be Kenosha, Wisconsin?
I don't know. Same way the number 2 auto-producing city in the United States could be Zachary Taylor. But however it happened, I'm sure our listeners have enjoyed hearing from you. We've enjoyed talking with you. I want to thank you.
I'm thoroughly confused.
Sorry you lost.
And I'm on Pacific time, too.
I hope all of you will join us next time when maybe yours will be the lucky number chosen to receive a Bob and Ray Mystery Quiz Call.
Bob, judging from the look of that creature there at the microphone with you, I'd say the staff has dug up at least one real disaster.
Well, that's very true, Ray. This person is Miss Fern Broody of Ogden, Utah, and I wonder, Miss Broody, if you'd tell us about the terrible tragedy that left you in this condition, will you?
Yes, I'd be delighted to. Actually, I've sunk to this level pretty quickly. It was less than a month ago that I was happily visiting my daughter in Los Angeles. Then I suffered the awful misfortune
Go ahead.
of going on one of those Hollywood quiz shows and winning a 2-week vacation here in New York.
Well, I can see how that would be pretty upsetting, but couldn't you make the best of a bad situation and try to enjoy yourself?
No,
here?
I really couldn't. You see, I'm a person of very modest means, and I've had to spend the whole 2 weeks trying to get on a New York quiz show where I could win a trip back home. You see.
I know we can all appreciate the futility of your effort, ma'am. In fact, I've never heard of a quiz show that gave away free trips to your home in Ogden, Utah.
Well, I couldn't go directly home even if there was a way. You see, I left my car parked at the Los Angeles airport, and it's costing $7 a day to leave it there. I think I'm nearing the point where I owe more than my 1949 Hudson is worth.
So, of course, that means you'll soon start losing your worldly possessions while you remain stranded here in New York. Well, to help you out of your tragic predicament, our generous Bob and Ray organization wants you to have this fine rust-proof aluminum awning for your patio.
Well, how in the world does that help me? A person can't just live under an aluminum awning in the middle of New York.
Oh, don't try to thank us.
Waiting for a miracle.
Don't try to thank us. It's our pleasure to be of service. And now let's move along to another figure with a hard luck story to tell. Here's Mr. Wingy Shotmore of Akron, Ohio. And it's fairly obvious that you've rushed to New York for emergency medical treatment.
Yes, it's really beginning to get noticeable. I started getting hair transplants about 6 months ago to cure my baldness. And, boy, I sure wish now that I'd left well enough alone.
Yes, I imagine you do. What is that you have growing out of your scalp? A variety of delphinium?
It did look a lot like delphinium at first, and during that period, I could still find barbers who'd go over me with a hedge trimmer, keep me looking presentable. But now that it's obviously poison ivy, nobody will thin it out at all.
Yes, that's indeed a tragedy. I suppose the doctor who performed the original transplant in Akron won't help you either, will he?
Well, he's apologized for picking seedlings out of the wrong box when he planted my head. But he claims that medical science is entitled to make a mistake now and then.
Well, I suppose that's true. Doesn't it make your head itch to have poison ivy growing on it?
No, it makes my hands itch. I have a nervous habit of running my fingers through my hair without thinking. And I spent all my money going to a New York dermatologist to get my hands treated. But he says there's really not much he can do as long as I keep hanging around this close to poison ivy.
Well, it seems as if you become trapped in a truly hopeless situation. But to make life just a little bit brighter, our Bob and Ray organization would like for you to have this beautiful silver-handled comb and brush set.
Oh, boy. Are you trying to make me a laughingstock? I can't use a comb and brush on my head. I need a rake and a small shovel.
No, you're entirely welcome, sir. So now back to Ray at our main anchor desk. Next, Mary Backstage, Noble Wife. The story of America's favorite family of the footlights and of their fight for security and happiness against the concrete heart of Broadway. On Friday, just as Harry, Calvin, and Pop had decided that the driver of the taxicab in Meredith, New Hampshire was indeed Mary, we heard a crash. Now it's moments later as the driver turns to ask,
Is everybody all right?
What? I think I hit my head on the back of the front
I'm
seat.
awfully sorry about this, but we're well insured, so don't be concerned about that. I just want to know if anybody's injured.
Well,
how about you?
I'm all right, I guess. Oh, you pointing at him?
Well, I'm all right, I think.
Anybody tell me how the three of us strangers got here in the back seat of this car?
Well, you hailed me downtown, and you said, Pop, that you wanted, and you too, Harry, and you too, Webley, that you wanted to go to the town hall.
I don't remember saying that at all, ma'am.
I remember when I was in the second grade, but that doesn't have anything to do with why we're here. Where are we, anyway?
I don't even remember getting into this taxicab.
This is Meredith, New Hampshire.
Meredith, New Hampshire.
Don't you know who you are?
No, now that you mentioned Harry.
I'm Mary Backstage. You're my husband, Harry Backstage. You're a Broadway star, just like myself. And you there with the pointed head, you're an actor.
Well, you feel I'm an actor? I have a point on my head, that's true.
And you there, you're a next-door neighbor of ours. Wait a minute. I'm completely turned around and confused.
So am I.
You mean to tell me I'm a neighbor of yours?
And mine? And I'm married to you?
Well, did you all hit your head or something?
Well, yes, I did. I did, too.
I don't know whether I hit my head. I feel pretty much like I did. Hello, I do have a headache, though.
You have a bump there, sir. I can see it turning purple.
Oh, thank you. You're very kind.
It's quite all
Point
right.
that out to me, sir.
You think you require first aid?
Well, I don't know. I suppose, is there a hospital hereabouts?
Yes, in whatever town this is. What town did you say this was?
I'm not quite sure, and I don't really know where we are. I just know that I'm Mary Backstage, and I don't even know what I'm doing back of this steering wheel.
Have you always driven a taxi cab here in Meredith?
No, I'm an actress on Broadway. I'm thoroughly confused.
And you say I'm an actor?
Yes, and a good dancer, too.
A dancer, too?
Yes. Well, I
don't have any recollection of dancing or acting.
This is all very curious to me.
You say you're Mary Backstage?
Yes, and you're Harry Backstage.
A famous Broadway star?
What's my name, sir? Do you know?
No, I don't, sir. I don't know your name.
Well, I think it's Calvin L. Hoogerman.
Calvin L. Hoogovan.
Calvin L. Hoogovan.
Calvin L. Hoogovan.
Doesn't seem to ring a bell with me. Calvin L. Hoogovan. It certainly rolled off the tongue nicely, but it doesn't seem to register with me.
Well, are you going to continue driving this cab, ma'am, Mrs. Backstage?
I certainly am not. I don't know anything about automobiles. I shouldn't be driving this car. One of you gentlemen will have to drive it, and I'd suggest you drive it to a hospital, and I don't know where that is. Best thing is for one of you to drive us to a gasoline station, and there we can consult the phone directory. That's the only hope and salvation for you now. You see.
All right, well, I'll take a turn at the wheel. I think I know how to drive.
Look, I think I'll wait. You just take the car, and I'll wait here and make my way back to town alone.
All right, ma'am.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
And so, a strange situation has developed. Mary apparently has recovered her memory, while Harry, Pop, and Calvin have lost theirs. You want to be here tomorrow when we'll hear Calvin say,
Well, I don't know what happened, Doctor. How much do we owe you?
that's tomorrow in the next exciting episode of Mary Backstage Noble Wife. Word Carr speaking. How are you today?
Pretty good, thank you.
And you've really thrown a curve at our actors in there by having first Mary with amnesia, and then she's cured. Now Harry, Pop, and Calvin seem to have it, huh?
Oh, is that how you read it?
Well, I was going to ask you if you can give us any idea where you think the story might go, or where you think you might be taking it.
Well, as I say, I don't want to tip the story or let you know exactly what's going to happen, because that would, take away some of the charm of the program.
Of course it would.
I don't know just where we're going. I haven't figured out tomorrow's episode until I get home, and I'll be working on that tonight.
Working right up on that tight deadline, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm thinking of bringing Fielding back into the story. That's Harry's long-lost brother.
Mm-hmm.
He could really make the fur fly, as they say. He's always a good anti-hero type character.
Sure.
But I don't know. I'll think about it tonight. Did you have a good weekend, Kent?
Yes, fine.
Yeah, it was great.
How about you and Kent? Chet, did you...
I haven't seen Kent.
Guess it's all over with you guys and the Buffalo gals, isn't it?
Definitely.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Yeah, there's no communication there at all.
Oh.
I blame Kent pretty much for that whole thing.
Well, I know you went into that last week.
He blew that one for us, no doubt about it. So I haven't been seeing Kent lately anyway. He seems to be pretty well occupied doing other things.
Yeah, he does.
Painting houses out in Queens.
Oh, is that what he's doing?
Yeah.
I know he hasn't been in here too much. A couple of days last week he popped in, but then popped right out again.
Right.
Okay, well, we'll listen tomorrow and
Right.
see what comes out of your brain tonight as you sit down at the typewriter. So long, Chester Hasbrook.
So long, guys.
And now the makers of Tingle, the long-wearing dental floss created from spun glass fiber, invite you to join us for another exciting adventure of Elmer W. Litzinger, Spy.
My name is Elmer W. Litzinger, Spy. It's my job to handle the toughest espionage assignments our government can hand out. Not long ago, the Pentagon heard rumors that a foreign power might be seeking information about our early warning radar system in the Arctic. I hopped a plane to the Yukon to check it out, and then trudged through the snow to the only hotel for hundreds of miles around.
Well, good evening, sir. A little nippy out tonight, isn't it?
I didn't notice. Do you have a room available?
Oh, sure. February's our off-season around here. All we get now are people who want a vacation at the hotel on some TV quiz show. You one of them?
No, this is strictly a business trip for me. The name is Elmer W. Litzinger, Spy.
Pleased to meet you. I'm Byron C. Forbush, night clerk. You know, I think the room you'd like is number 36. Most people don't want it because they think that big tower outside the window is an oil well that'll make a lot of noise, but Being a spy, you probably know what it really is.
Oh, indeed I do. It's one of the 749 radar listening towers we operate clear across the continent.
749 of them. Gee, I thought there were only about 400 or 500 at most.
Oh, no, we passed the 500 mark several years ago. Here, let me get this map out of my briefcase. It shows the location of every radar station we have.
Oh, yeah, all those little red dots. You know, my wife would sure be interested in seeing this. I hate to wake her up now. Do you mind if I take some pictures of this to show her in the morning?
No, help yourself. And you might tell the little woman that this one blank spot here is our only vulnerable point. But we'll be putting towers in there, too, as soon as the spring thaw comes. So there's no need for her to worry.
Well, that's kind of you to offer reassurance. But we'll probably be back home in a distant foreign capital by spring anyway. I only have to stick around here until I complete my mission.
Oh, that's too bad. I think this town is really going to boom.
Well, if everything goes the way my imperial leader hopes, I'll probably be back here running things in a year or two.
Well, you won't know the place by then. We plan to put in a silo for missiles out near the edge of town next fall. And there'll even be a landing field for B-52s around here before long, too.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Well, let me write all this down in my memory book before I forget it. See, missile silo, B-52 base. About how many planes would you estimate?
We think 30 should be enough.
Well, it's not enough, but if that's what you think, I'll put it down that way.
Well, I really shouldn't be prattling on like this. I know you night clerks have to bring the building up to date and watch the switchboard and all that.
Oh, it's perfectly all right. Like I said, this is our off-season. We only had one other guest, and he checked out this evening.
Oh, really? That's odd. I was told that Major General Standish was staying here and was to be my contact.
Well, he was the guest who checked out. But if you still want to contact him, you can find his body stuffed through a hole in the ice out in the lake. It's only about 3 miles from town.
Well, I probably couldn't even get a cab to take me out there on a bad night like this. Besides, if the general checked out, that must mean he's finished his work here. So I'll just mail my report to Washington, saying, case closed successfully. By Elmer W. Litzinger, spy. Hi, Ken. How you doing?
Nice to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you again. What's new?
Well, I got a big part in the story today.
Oh, come on, microphone.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
I ran into Chester Hasbrook Frisbee when I was leaving the building yesterday, and he said he'd love to have me portray a role in Mary Backstage, Noble Wife.
Oh, just in time to pick up a little extra money for the summer.
I shall be appearing in today's episode. See if you can spot me in the show.
Oh, I'm sure we can pick up your
Thank
voice.
you.
Awfully nice. Thank you, folks. All right, we'll be listening then, and you'll be on. Well, you better get over there now. I see there's a lot of action going on in the other studio.
All right, come on, Webb. We'll go over.
All right. See you a little later, fellas.
So long.
Next, Mary Backstage, Noble Wife. The story of America's favorite family of the Footlights and of their fight for security and happiness against the concrete heart of Broadway. Yesterday, after Mary found her memory had returned, she left Harry, Pop, and Calvin, who had lost their memories temporarily, perhaps, to return to the theater and the hotel in Meredith, New Hampshire. And Harry, Pop, and Calvin set out in the cab for the local doctor. Now, as they arrive in front of his home, we hear...
Well, this is the first doctor's house that I've noticed, so here you are.
Must be it, I guess. Dr. Leonard Harkins. Well, come on, sir, and you too.
Right. Okay.
Let's go in.
Very good. I wonder who I am.
Yes, I wonder who
It's
I am.
funny walking around not knowing who you are.
Sure is, despite what that lady said, that lady who called herself Mary Backstage.
I was looking through my wallet. It had a lot of interesting things and names in there, but none of them strike a note. And none of them seem to be familiar to me.
You have an identification card that says, what did she say your name was? Calvin L. Hoogerman?
She said that's well. I think he's a magician because one of the things in my wallet said Calvin L. Hoogerman.
Yeah, look at this union card at mine. It says Pop Beloved.
Uh-huh.
That's what my name is supposed to be, I guess.
Yeah.
What?
Excuse me.
Somebody said come on in.
Did you call us to come in, sir?
Yes, I did, gentlemen. I'm Dr. Leonard Harkins.
Oh.
Can I be of some help to you?
Yes, you may. Is that dog, is he vicious?
No, he's as friendly as a pussycat.
Oh, all right. Well, good. Well, come on in, everybody, and let's close the door.
Yeah, right. May I have the honor of an introduction to you gentlemen?
Well, that's why we're here, Doctor.
We were in a slight accident. We all happened to hit our heads.
And we don't know who we are.
We think maybe it's amnesia. I see. Well, who wants to go first?
Well, go where?
No, I mean, who wants me to question them about what's the matter with them?
Well, I don't care. Do you want to talk to me first?
All right. I'll have to put something down on your card.
All right. Well, aren't you going to put on a white coat like doctors should?
I will if it's necessary. Now, you said your name was...
You don't think we have anything that's catching, do you?
No.
Oh, boy.
Wow, did you get...
Do you,
Is this your day off, Doctor? No, it's my regular office hours.
You know, I remember people telling me...
Excuse me. Hello, Dr. Harkins speaking.
Oh, I think he's been drinking, you know.
Yes?
I really do.
Any of you here named Backstage?
Well, we don't know.
Harry Backstage?
We don't know what our names are.
Well, the lady who drove the taxi cab said that is my name.
Well, how do you know? I wouldn't believe every taxi cab driver I talk to.
No, you couldn't be sure.
Boy,
what was that, ma'am? She says she's Mary Backstage.
Uh-huh.
She says she's your wife.
Who? My wife?
This gentleman.
Hello?
Me. No, he's pointing at me.
Oh, I didn't
Well,
know.
you might as well take it. You could just...
Are you my wife, lady? Well, I don't know who I am.
Maybe it's for me, Calvin.
You know, I would have been a great doctor myself, only I flunked gloves. Yeah. Oh, you. Yeah. Well, then, I guess maybe this call isn't for me. Well, thank you for calling. Good luck.
Well, what was that all about?
Some lady thought she was my wife. Obviously, she was in error. I don't think I'm married, although I could be, you see.
Any one of us could be, or all of us. You see, we just don't know, Dr. Harkins.
Yeah.
I can see that. I think you're all suffering from amnesia.
Well, maybe you're right.
And so our friends have found a friendly doctor in Meredith, New Hampshire. But will he be able to cure them of their apparent amnesia? Be sure and join us tomorrow when we'll hear Calvin Hoogerman say,
"This is the first time I ever had a cast on my head."
That's tomorrow in the next exciting episode of Mary Backstage Noble Wife. Word Carr speaking.
Time for another letter addressed to Mr. I know where they are. He spent many years building up the world's most complete reference file on former celebrities who are no longer in the public spotlight. Ralph, I think we have even more mail than usual that's come in this week from listeners who want your help in locating the favorites of bygone days.
Well, you know how pleased I always am to hear that, Ray.
Sure.
And that's especially true right now. I send out little baskets at Easter time to all the washed-up celebrities I keep in touch with. This year, I'm going to put a note right there on top of the cellophane grass in each basket, mentioning how the public still remembers the old-timers. They'll get a big lift from that.
Well, I certainly hope so. Here's one of the letters I'd like to read that's typical of the hundreds we receive addressed to Mr. I know where they are.
All right.
It's from a woman up in Maine. She writes that she was taken to a circus sideshow many years ago when she was a little girl, and she still remembers seeing a man there who claimed to be 10 feet tall. The giant was named Tiny Watkins, and this woman wonders whatever became of him.
Oh, goodness sakes alive. Tiny Watkins. He's been retired for a good many years now, but of course he's still a huge man, even though he's almost 80.
Well, I guess his age wouldn't have anything to do with his size once he became an adult.
Is he really 10 feet tall, though, as this woman remembers?
No, Tiny's only about 9 feet 8.5, Ray. Those circus people always exaggerate. I might add that Tiny wasn't his real name either. The other people in the circus just called him that because he was so large. They thought it added a touch of humor to call a man tiny when he was almost 10 feet tall.
Well, I'm sure Tiny accepted that nickname good-naturedly.
No, he didn't, Ray. It's fat people who are traditionally good-natured, not tall people.
Well, I guess that's true. In any event, where is Tiny Watkins now?
Tiny and his third wife are living happily on a small Polynesian island. He writes me that the people there are very innocent. They think he came from another planet because he's so tall. They worship him as an idol, and Tiny seems to like that.
Well, it's nice to know that he's happy in his declining years. All right, here's another letter addressed to Mr. I Know Where They Are from a man in Tulsa. He says that his ambitions in life were inspired by watching Jody Crimmins become the first left-handed skeet shooter ever to win the Oklahoma State Championship in 1927. And this gentleman wants to know if you can tell him whatever became of Jody.
No, I'm sorry, Ray. I don't know where Jody Crimmins is.
Really? Gee, I'm surprised to hear you say that, Ralph.
Well, it's not too surprising in this case, Ray. You see, they recounted the broken clay pigeons the next day and found they'd made a mistake. Jody Crimmins didn't win the 1927 Oklahoma State Championship after all. And I'm afraid I don't consider a person who really only finished second in a skeet shoot to be a big enough celebrity for me to keep in touch with.
I see. Well,
Excuse me. I might add I do still correspond with Wilbur Nashley. He was declared the 1927 Oklahoma State champion after the mistake was found in Jody Crimmins' score. And Wilbur Nashley is now a retired shoe clerk living in Ardmore,
well, I'm
Oklahoma.
Sure, right, I'm sure that information will more than satisfy the listener who wrote in. I think we have time for another letter addressed to Mr. I Know Where They Are. It's from a woman in Ohio, and she's wondering about Bubbles Unsinger, the one-time Radcliffe College girl who went on to become a gun moll for some of the most notorious gangsters of the 30s.
Oh, my. Bubbles Unsinger. She was a wild one, Ray. When they finally caught up with her in 1936, the reason she gave for hanging around with the Ma Barker gang was that they were all good mahjong players.
Well, she sounds like a rather irrepressible young woman. Whatever became of Bubbles Unsinger, Ralph?
Well, she just got out of prison last year, Ray. She was sentenced to 40 years, but they let her out 6 months early for good behavior. Bubbles is now running a small metal shop in Cincinnati that makes license plates. It's the only kind of work she's trained to do.
Well, it's too bad to see a promising young person like that fail to live up to her full potential.
Right.
But at least she seems to be in good health. So I want to thank you for stopping by to help our listeners locate some of their favorite celebrities of bygone days.
I was glad to do it, Ray. I always set aside part of each afternoon for living in the past anyway. Goodbye.
Next, Mary Backstage, Noble Wife, the story of America's favorite family of the footlights and of their fight for security and happiness against the concrete heart of Broadway. Yesterday, Harry, Calvin, and Pop sought out Dr. Leonard Harkins at his office in Meredith, New Hampshire, to seek help in regaining their memories, since all three appear to be suffering from amnesia. Now, as the doctor continues his efforts to assist them, we hear Calvin say,
Well, no, I guess I probably have had all the childhood sicknesses you can think of. Measles, whooping cough. That's about it, I guess. Maybe, I don't know as I ever did have tonsils. Yes, my tonsils were out, sure.
How about measles and whooping cough?
Well, I'm suffering from amnesia. I don't remember whether I had them. I assume I did, because when I was growing up, most people did have that.
All right, well,
I don't remember growing up particularly.
I'll just put down that you probably had all of the childhood diseases that you could have. Now, this other gentleman, Lee? Yes, do you remember anything at all about your past?
Let me write and fill in, and you can ask him the questions, Doctor.
All right.
And look, would you face the other way? Your breath really is, well, it was just holding my tie.
Where were we? Please, don't interrupt, because
all right.
I lose my train. my train of thought. Now, the first question is, do you remember anything about your past life?
No, I only know that my union card is in this wallet here. It says I'm Pop Beloved, and that I used to tap dance.
Shall they put this down on the report, Doctor?
Oh, yes. Any little spark of information can be very helpful.
Union card in his wallet. What union was that?
Well, I guess it's Equity, isn't it? Yeah, it says Equity on the top of it.
Equity?
That means I must have been on Broadway.
You were on Broadway?
Oh, that's a good tip. Say, there's a Broadway show going to open here in Meredith
boy.
in just a few days. It's called Westchester Furioso.
Oh.
Westchester Furioso?
Do you ever open that window at all, Doctor?
No, I don't like breezes to come through.
I don't
Wait just a minute. Westchester Furioso, that rings a bell.
Why? I didn't hear anything.
No, he says it's going to open here in town in a few days.
Uh-huh.
That's right. And
did you have any childhood diseases there, you with the pointed head?
I don't remember, of course.
Well, childhood diseases are such things as whooping cough and measles, the mumps, things like that.
Well, it wouldn't matter now at his age. It wouldn't make much difference whether he had
swollen glands. Did you ever have swollen glands?
Yeah, I think probably I did, but there again, I can't say for sure.
I'll just write all these down. Swollen gland, bump.
Did you say when this Westchester Furioso is going to open, Dr. Harkins?
Did you have whooping cough?
Yes, I think it's going to open next Monday.
Did you have whooping cough?
And you say it's a...
I don't remember.
Well,
a real Broadway production? Yes, it's a real Broadway production. The original cast. Starring Mary and Harry Backstage are going to be appearing in it.
Do you have any health insurance?
No, I don't believe I do. I don't have anything here in my wallet that says I do.
That's very important. That will affect the...
Wait a minute. I'm the doctor here. You're acting like these are your patients.
Well, I'm just
They came to see me first.
I'm just trying to help. Oh,
I'm going to get the fee. Let me ask you one thing. Where could we find out more about this show? Well, let's go over to the town hall. That's where it's going to be.
Were you ever inoculated for typhoid fever?
Don't ask them any more questions. These are my patients.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to help.
All right, now let me ask just one final question or two. Can you all pay my fee? And so Dr. Harkins continues to probe the memories of Harry, Pop, and Calvin, but with little success. But you'll want to join us tomorrow when we'll hear Calvin say,
"When will the cast come off, Doctor?"
That's tomorrow in the next exciting episode of Mary Backstage Noble Wife. Word Carr speaking. Trophy train will be over there in Harold Junction in Queens. They head up into New England. And are we sending Baloo up to New England with it?
Why not? It'd be a good opportunity for him to get home and visit some relatives up there.
That's right. He's been on it ever since it started out, 6 or 8 weeks ago, and I guess he'd want to see it right through to the end, huh?
All right, standing by now at Harold, Long Island, and the Sunnyside Yards are close to them. Wally Ballou.
See it right through to the end, and so I've been very pleased to hear the news, and we'll be looking forward to seeing maybe some relatives as we journey into New England. In the meantime, here at Harold, the trophy train is enjoying one of the largest groups that it is welcomed while here in the New York area. Mr. Gilmore, just how many people have come aboard the train today, do you know?
Today we've had almost 3,500 people come through the Bob and Ray Trophy train since it opened this morning at 8:45.
And of course here in Big Town, the Big Apple, the price has been raised as...
Well, everything has gone up, as you know.
Higher.
We had to jack up the rates. The charge people to go through the trophy train just to make ends meet. So
well, they have been paying. It started out, I think it was adults $2.50, children $1.25, but that was weeks ago. It's steadily climbed until now. What are the figures?
$15 for adults, $14.30 for children in hand.
Kind of closed up the gap between the children and the adults. There's very little difference
We
there.
figure that no matter whether they're children in hand or adults, they're people.
and they got to pay.
Right.
Like everybody else.
Well, has this been received favorably by those who've journeyed some distance, say from New Jersey over here to Harold, to see?
We've had some grumbling, of course. People said that it's taking all their money they had planned to use to return home. But as I explained to them, that we're not a red feather service here.
Right.
That we're a trophy train, and if they want to come and see Bob and Ray Iana, they've got to pay through the nose for it.
Well, I think that's probably the feeling that the boys would have themselves.
I'm sure I represent their thinking.
They have nothing to do with setting the price. That comes from organization headquarters.
Certainly.
And it's a board decision. It's not made
I understand it's all done by computers.
Yes, I guess it is, based on the population and the business that...
I understand you feed certain information into it, like, we'll say A, we want to make money. And then push button B and
that
tells you how to do it.
How much to charge in order to do it. Well, now, are you going to have the same crew with you when you head up into New England beginning early tomorrow morning, the same engineer and fireman?
We don't know. We haven't been... We hope to have the same crew. Of course, it would make our chores that much easier, rather than have to change crews at every new community that we arrive in.
Right.
So I don't know. We only can hope for the best in that respect. We leave here tonight at 11 p.m.
Oh, it's tonight. I thought it was tomorrow morning. I've got to get home and pack.
11 p.m. we leave, and then we'll, of course, go across the Hell's Gate Bridge and head up into New England.
I think it'll be the first time a steam engine and a train have gone across the Hell Gate for quite some time.
I understand that it's true that it hasn't gone over that way for a long time, and I imagine we'll have quite a turnout of railroad buffs just to see it go by.
I was noticing a lot of these people are quite curious about the locomotive.
Yes.
This group over there, I guess...
Well, didn't you have a good time on the trophy train? Well, it cost you a little money. What do you expect?
Apparently they've...
a bunch of crybabies like that.
They don't have enough money to get home.
That's not funny.
Oh, one of them just picked up a huge boulder and threw it through one of the windows of the train.
We'll get one of the Bob and Ray police after you.
I don't know what damage it did. Did it do any damage, Mr. Gilmore?
No, I'm just trying to scare him. Just through one of those cases we're going to throw away.
Oh.
I don't know what that was. I'm concerned about that. You have a few moments. Let me go, and then I'll come right back.
Okay.
Why don't you describe the yard?
In the meantime, I'll describe the panorama that is spread out before me here at Harold Junction in Queens. The sky is quite blue, broken clouds, the sun peeping through. It's not at all a bad day to be outdoors, enjoying the fresh air. The air we expect will be acceptable today. Our sunset tonight will be at 8:29. Tomorrow morning, sunrise.
Hello?
Yes, Mr. Gilmore.
Do you have your bag with you? Because I think we're going to up anchor here early today. Rather than wait for 11 o'clock, I think we'll try to shoot for 4 o'clock.
It's only 2 minutes away. Well, I don't have any luggage with me, so I'll have to...
Well, I mean, this crowd is not only unruly, they're mean and hostile.
So you're going to vacate the train now, are you?
Definitely. Close it up. Give the signal, the old highball signal to the engineer, and roll out of Harold.
Well, you heard it just as I did, ladies and gentlemen. The trophy train with its Bob and Ray Iana will be pulling out of Harold here, Harold Junction, in just a couple of minutes, headed north.
50 seconds.
About 50 seconds. Minute and 50 seconds, he says. And so as they get up steam in the locomotive, this is Wally Ballou boarding the train himself. And
maybe you could have somebody forward your clothes to you, Ballou. We got to get out of here.
I'll pick up something when we get out of town.
Bridgeport is our first stop.
Okay, so it's back to the studio. Wally Ballou.
Next, Mary Backstage, Noble Wife, the story of America's favorite family of the footlights and their fight for security and happiness against the concrete heart of Broadway. It's 24 hours after our last episode now, and the medicine given them by Dr. Leonard Harkins apparently has done its work. Harry's memory has returned, as has Calvin's and as has Pop's. And they quickly made their way back to the town hall in Meredith, New Hampshire,
where they're being given a happy greeting by Mary and Greg Marlowe.
Well, good to see all you folks again.
Well, it's certainly good to be back.
It's the funniest thing. We all suffered from amnesia. We haven't had that in ages.
No, we haven't. It's a ploy that our writer uses occasionally.
You know, it was funny. You know, I always thought I was Napoleon there for a little while.
I know, you're walking around with your hand in your coat.
I wish somebody had taken a picture of me so I could see how ridiculous I look.
Yeah, that was some medicine Dr. Harkins gave us, and I called him a little bit ago and told him how much we thanked him.
Oh.
I don't know what it was, but it sure worked.
You know what? It's funny. It has a side action, too, that
Oh, it does? I haven't noticed any.
Yeah, it made me forget to pay the doctor.
Well, it certainly improved your sense of humor, too, Calvin.
Oh, I feel so good to know who I am now, you know.
Now, to get serious for a moment,
Well,
Greg,
I have,
how is the play going?
Some disturbing news
about
the play. Not about the play, about the reaction to the people here in Meredith.
You mean they haven't been buying tickets the way they should?
Why don't you let him tell us?
Well, what is it, Greg? Tell us. Tell us.
It's just that with all the publicity and the hoopla and all, that we've only managed to sell 5 seats.
5 seats?
And those seats in the balcony.
In the balcony? In the balcony, huh?
So rather than subject my cast to the embarrassment of performing before 5 people seated in a distant balcony, I made arrangements to refund the money and to move from Meredith and head for Ogunquit, Maine, where I think we can do better.
Well, I think possibly that's a good solution, Greg.
Well, isn't that too bad? I wonder why in the world the people here in Meredith didn't buy tickets for Westchester Furioso.
How did the rest of the cast take it, the singers and dancers and musicians?
Well, they understood the predicament we were in. They knew that it wouldn't be good for the morale, so they're going along with the idea.
Uh-huh.
Although I hate to give that money back.
Well, of course you do, but it's only 5 seats. It couldn't be more than $25, Greg.
Well, it's $25 is $25,
Sure
know.
It is.
Sure.
Every little 25 mounts up.
Yeah, that's the only part that's sticking sideways as far as I can figure.
Uh-huh.
I wonder if we could... No, I shouldn't do that. I was wondering if we could just go out of town and take the $25.
I don't think that would be a wise thing. The news would travel ahead of us to Ogunquit, and then we'd be in trouble there.
No, Greg, you wouldn't want to do that. That would be very bad. Plus, not only would bad news travel, I think the people would come after us.
Oh, they'd string us up if they ever caught us for doing that.
No doubt. For $5 here in Meredith, they'd really string you up.
Yeah,
There's no
that's
doubt
right.
about it.
And you'll find, Mr. Marlowe, we'll make it up in Ogunquit, because that's a good theater-loving community, and they'll just back the show 100% of it.
Well, that's my hope. I've had somebody check the Mal Hallett bus, and it's all in good shape. It's tuned. We put in 2 new plugs that we found misfiring. We have new points, a condenser. I think we're all set to go.
Well, good. We'll leave early in the morning then, will we?
First thing in the morning.
And we'll be opening there on Monday evening.
Hope Monday we'll open in difficult to say.
Ogunquit, Mr. Marlowe.
How do you say that again?
Ogunquit.
Let me try it.
It's an Indian name.
Ogunquit. How do you spell it, Bob?
Capital O-G-U-N-Q-U-I-T. Ogunquit.
Yeah, that's a side effect you get, you know. You get to pay the doctor his bill.
And so Greg Marlowe, young playwright secretly in love with Mary, tells our friends that the play will open in Ogunquit, Maine on Monday evening. And you'll want to join us on Monday when we'll hear Mary say,
"They told you no soap in Ogunquit?"
That's Monday in the next exciting episode of Mary Backstage Noble What? Word Car speaking.
All right, somewhere between here and Bridgeport. Come in, please, Wally Ballou.
Gate Bridge some minutes ago, and now, of course, have cleared the Upper Bronx, Pelham Bay, in that area, and following along the coastline route, which will reach Bridgeport as the first stop. We won't stay any length of time. We'll take on fresh water and supplies for the night. I've got to pick up a toothbrush. I think there'll be time for that. And then we'll be rolling northward. Mr. Gilmore?
Yes, sir?
How do things look to you now? Much damage done to the Bob and Ray Yanner in here.
We had a little trouble back there at Harold just before he left. That's why the quick, sudden departure.
Right.
I might point out also in Bridgeport, of course, we'll pick up hay for the crew to sleep on tonight.
Right. And that'll be put in the spare car at the rear of the train.
That's right.
The first place that the train will be stopping to take interested people aboard will be Boston, I guess.
Well, we're going to hesitate as we go through New London so that we can all take a look at Mystic as we go through there and see the whale ship and all, and one thing and another.
Charles W. Morgan.
Yes, that's right. And then we'll be heading right for the first. We were thinking of possibly stopping in Pawtucket, Rhode Island.
No, I don't think so.
No.
So we'll be steaming north then. That's the picture from the Bob and Ray Trophy train at this hour, 2 minutes of 5. Wally.
The Kumquat Institute of America invites you to spend another educational session with the idol of the nation's youngsters, Mr. Science. As we look in on the well-equipped modern laboratory today, we see that little Jimmy Schwab is just arriving to watch Mr. Science perform his latest fascinating experiment.
Oh, Jimmy, you're just in time to watch me perform my latest fascinating experiment.
Gosh, all hemlock, that's wonderful, Mr. Science. I was afraid I was going to be late.
Oh?
I had a little trouble walking in these plastic snowshoes you made for me last week. Can't seem to get them off, you know.
Well, you're not supposed to take them off, Jimmy. I molded them to your feet so you wouldn't lose them.
Gosh, that's a Jim Dandy idea, Mr. Science. And I really don't mind at all that I have to sleep standing up.
Well, I'm glad you like your new snowshoes so well, Jimmy, but now it's time to move along to today's experiment.
Prime and Nettles, Mr. Science. What experiment have you planned for today?
Well, today, Jimmy, we're going to prove that wood will float in water.
Glorioski. You mean that just plain everyday wood will float in water?
Well, that's what we're going to try to prove. Now, first, we'll fill up this laboratory receptacle with tap water.
Holy Ned, Mr. Science. That faucet broke right off in your hand. Now you won't be able to turn the water off.
Well, we'll have to get a wrench or something after the show is over. We'll just let it run for the time being. Now, I see that our receptacle is full of water, and we'll try floating some wooden objects on it.
Jumping Jehoshaphat, Mr. Science. What are those wooden objects you have in your hand there?
Oh, those are called toothpicks, Jimmy.
Great day in the morning. Wait till I tell the kids at school that I've seen real toothpicks.
Yes, well, now, you notice that the toothpicks do float in the water.
Wow.
Now, try a little larger wooden object.
Gosh, Mr. Science, that faucet's still running full force over there, and the water's almost up to my knees now.
A little is spilling out over the floor, but we'll mop it up after we go off the air.
Criminy, Mr. Science. Your workbench is starting to float over there. It must be made out of wood, too.
Yes, that's a very good example of the principle that we're trying to prove today.
Gee, the water's almost up to my shoulders down, Mr. Science. I wouldn't complain so much, but it's awfully cold water.
Well, just try not to think about it, Jimmy. Now, next, we're going to try floating this small maple block in this receptacle of water.
Jiminy, is that a real maple block? Wait till I tell you.
Jimmy, where are you, boy? Hold your hand up so I can see you, Jimmy. Oh, Jimmy. Jimmy.
Mr. Science has been brought to you by the Kumquat Institute of America.
Next, Mary Backstage, Noble Wife, the story of America's favorite family of the Footlights and their fight for security and happiness against the concrete heart of Broadway. On Friday, Greg Marlowe informed Mary, Harry, Pop, and Calvin he was canceling the opening of Westchester Furioso in Meredith, New Hampshire for lack of ticket sales, and had accepted a bid for the show from Ogunquit, Maine. As our story opens today, the cast has just completed a run-through rehearsal in Ogunquit, and we hear Greg say,
Oh, that was just terrific.
Okay,
I mean,
Greg?
that was the best rehearsal I have ever seen.
well, thanks very much. The lines really came back to us as we went through
Good
it.
to hear, although, doesn't that indicate something awful usually?
Oh,
Good
you mean that
rehearsal?
old thing about a good rehearsal,
Oh,
a
I
bad
don't
show?
believe in that.
No, I don't either. How was my dancing, Mr. Marlowe? Up to stuff?
Just great. I've never seen you lighter on your feet.
Thanks
I'm so
very much.
delighted with this whole thing here in Ogunquit. The
Yep.
bus went beautifully all the way
Yes.
here from Meredith. I'm really thrilled.
I think the tide has turned for us, Greg, and I think we're in for a stretch of good luck.
Tide is coming in now, did you say?
Well, it's just a figure of speech, Calvin. I mean,
they have pretty high tides up here in Ogunquit.
yeah, a lot of undertow sometimes, too. You have to be careful of the big breakers.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to go in the water. It's a little too cold for me right now.
Yeah, a little too early. Better wait till July or August.
Yes,
Well,
I'll put on my bathing slippers.
How are the ticket sales for tonight's opening, Greg?
Pretty good. Not brisk. I'd say, okay, you know.
Because they haven't had much warning. You had to get some fast publicity out.
And I thought maybe I could bring you around town and have you meet the jocks here in Gunquit, the disc jockeys, that is, and maybe talk about the show, and they could interview you, and would you be
Sure, we'd like to
open
do
to
that.
that suggestion?
Oh, I think that would be fine. Oh, I would be glad to do that, Mr. Marlowe. Sure.
Anything to help the whole company in our 1 week stay here.
Well, I don't know about you people, but I've worked up an appetite here by the seashore.
Yeah, me too. I have too.
Nothing like a little salt air to get the old juices going.
Well, we don't have to be back till about 7:30, do we, Greg?
That's right.
I saw a nice-looking restaurant just down the street a little way. Let's all go.
Okay.
All right.
Fine.
This is a pretty little town, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's very nice.
Not many cars on the street, though.
No, I suppose they're all at the seashore or at the playground or something like that. Working.
Oh,
Yeah.
hey, will you be?
This is the place we'll be four. My wife Mary, myself, Pop,
See
and
that
Kelvin.
table down by the window?
Yes.
With the paper napkins?
Yes.
That's yours. Take it.
Thanks very much, sir.
Oh, very good.
Hey, this is a pretty nice place.
I'm not crazy about paper napkins, though, you know.
Well,
How often I remember my daddy saying, whenever he saw paper napkins, he always reached for his hat and left.
well,
It was an indication that something was amiss at the restaurant.
plus today we have to cut back on all expenses that we can. I suppose that's one way they save.
I suppose, but, you know, I go along with Mary on that. I don't like paper napkins, especially if you're going to wrestle with fish.
Yes, that's right. And I was thinking about a lobster myself.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, that's good seafood. They
Nice
ought to have.
cod or something like that. Or nice bluefish, something like that.
Hey, look, there's a trio over there in the corner on a little stage.
Welcome, everybody.
Oh, they must have afternoon
Welcome
entertainment.
to Mom and Pop's restaurant. We have some wonderful entertainment for you tonight, representing the famous Maine Sound.
Hey, we're going to get some of that Maine
Miss
sound.
Celine J. Snyder, for your listening pleasure as you dine on some of the great food here at Mom and Pop's. Celine?
There's nobody finer than Dad, I say.
You folks ready to order now?
I don't think so. My appetite's kind of left me.
I think I'd like to look at the menu a little longer and sap up some of this Maine Sound.
I don't think I'll want anything to eat.
Maybe a glass of water, something like that.
And so, our friends' excitement over opening night apparently has taken their appetite away. You want to join us tomorrow when we'll hear Mary say,
2 minutes to curtain.
that's tomorrow in the next exciting episode of Mary Backstage Noble Wife. Word Carr speaking.
Wherever you are, come in, please, with your walkie-talkie, your Rogers Gibbons equipment. Wally Ballou.
Lee Ballou in Tipton, Indiana, where I'm now standing in the front yard of the world's longest, narrowest house. And the owner of the place is with me, Mr. Woodview Blackmeyer. And I wonder if you'd tell our audience a little about this unusual home of yours, sir.
Well, there's not much to tell, really. In fact, the only unusual thing about it is that it's 23 inches wide and not quite a mile long.
Had you built a house with those dimensions on purpose, I suppose?
Yes, we built the house on purpose. We just bought the lot by mistake, you see. The wife and I saw this ad in the paper for a 10,000 square foot lot that only cost $150.
Uh-huh.
Well, you know, it sounded like such a bargain that we bought it sight unseen. And it wasn't until we got here that we found out it was 5,000 feet long and 2 feet wide.
Well, you decided to build a house on the property anyway, right?
Yeah, the more fools we. Would you like to squeeze inside and look around?
Yeah, I'd like to very much. You lead the way. I'm sure we'll have to go Indian file, huh?
Yeah, even our year-old twins can't go side by side without getting wedged in between the walls.
Uh-huh. see the front door opens right into the kitchen here.
That's right. We had to build the place ourselves because there aren't any thin carpenters in town, you know, and I'm afraid our room arrangement is a little unprofessional here and there.
Well, at least you can tell that this is supposed to be a kitchen, even though you have 4 hot plates lined up over there instead of a stove.
Well, we had a stove originally, but it was so wide that there was no way to get past it into the rest of the house. And you couldn't get the oven door open even if you stood up on the windowsill. Come on, let me show you the rest of the place.
Okay. Wait till I try to climb over the refrigerator without dropping the microphone here.
Listen, I'd appreciate it if you'd slip your shoes off, too. The bedroom is next, and it's so narrow, you have to walk over the bed to get through.
Well, this is quite a bedroom. It must be a block long, isn't it?
Well, we have quite a large family, so we had to allow room for 16 single beds to be placed end to end. Actually, the only trouble with this room is that we had no place to put the closets except in the ceiling. So every time you open a closet door, all your clothes fall down on top of you.
Yeah, well, I'd like to take a look at the rest of the house, but I'm afraid my microphone cord won't reach any further.
Well, there's not too much beyond here. Of course, we're proud of our 400-foot-long picture window in the living room.
Uh-huh.
And you're missing our TV room, which doesn't have a set in it because they don't make picture tubes small enough to fit in the house anymore. And I'd have liked for you to have seen the game room. I think it's the only one in existence where you have to play ping pong sideways off the wall.
Well, maybe we could see all that next time. What's the shortest route to get out of here?
Well, I'd say you're right about in the middle now. The front and back doors are each around about a half mile from here. And no matter how you do it, you've got a brisk 10 to 15-minute walk ahead of you.
Well, don't bother seeing me out then. I'm sure I can't get lost, for there's no possible way to make a wrong turn. Thanks for your hospitality. And this is Wally Ballou in Tipton, Indiana, returning it to Bob and Ray in